Your roadmap to the latest in auto. Welcome to Highway Herald, where every turn reveals power, policy, and performance. The 51st G7 Summit in Alberta wasn't just a diplomatic gathering, it marked a shift in global alliances. With tensions in the Middle East, Ukraine, and global trade, stakes were high. But when Donald Trump exited early, the summit's dynamics turned dramatic. Stepping into the vacuum, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney led a flurry of high-impact bilateral deals. Buckle up. Here are the pivotal turns and power plays that reshaped this global gathering. Trump's premature exit, breaking the G7's traction control. June 16th brought the summit's most dramatic twist. Donald Trump abruptly departed the G7 in Kananaskis a full day early. The official explanation pointed to escalating tensions between Israel and Iran, but French President Emmanuel Macron floated an alternative narrative. Trump was pursuing a ceasefire. That provoked a fiery response, with Trump dismissing Macron as publicity-seeking and firmly denying any such mission. Yet the greater fallout extended well beyond headlines. With the U.S. absent, the remaining G7 leaders scrambled to cobble together a diluted statement calling for de-escalation in Gaza and restraint from Iran. Even more troubling, the group couldn't reach a unified position on Ukraine, a glaring void during an active war. Trump's earlier remarks questioning Russia's ejection from the G8 in 2014 only deepened divides, casting the summit as a fractured G6+1. Trade discussions fared no better. Trump struck a minor tariff agreement with the UK, but talks with Germany and Japan stalled. Beneath the picturesque Rocky Mountain backdrop, the summit revealed a G7 increasingly driven by national interests over collective strategy. But while one major player stalled, another hit the gas. Canada moved into high gear with a flurry of bilateral negotiations. Carney's bilateral Blitz, turning gridlock into momentum. With the U.S. stepping back, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney accelerated diplomacy through targeted bilateral meetings that delivered real results. With Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba, Carney secured deals on encrypted data sharing, defense tech, and joint projects in LNG, nuclear, and naval industries, complete with follow-up frameworks. Germany's Chancellor Merz joined Carney in advancing cooperation on AI, quantum tech, and energy resilience, reinforcing Canada's status as a leader in critical minerals. With UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Carney backed Britain's CPTPP entry and launched a $7 million Canada-UK cyber fund alongside AI safety collaborations. The summit also saw LOT Polish Airlines ordering 40 Canadian A220 aircraft, boosting Quebec jobs. Italy's Giorgia Meloni worked with Carney on energy, organized crime, and Ukraine defense. Finally, with EU President Ursula von der Leyen, Canada helped launch the Critical Minerals Production Alliance to reduce China's dominance. These strategic, action-focused engagements showed that while others debated, Canada drove real-world outcomes, cementing its leadership role at the summit. These power plays on the diplomatic front quickly shifted attention to another major arena, trade, where tensions still lingered beneath the surface. Before we delve deeper, we'd appreciate it if you could subscribe to Highway Herald. Your support fuels our passion to bring you more high-performance insights into the world of autos, policy, and power. Trade turbulence, behind the bilateral buzz. Even with a flurry of diplomatic photo ops, trade friction was one of the summit's most stubborn undercurrents. While the US and UK managed a small-scale tariff agreement, the G7 as a whole fell short of delivering sweeping economic breakthroughs. Canada and the US pledged to finalize an economic and security framework within 30 days, but Trump's track record with multilateral deals cast serious doubts. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Carney pressed ahead with the UK, endorsing legislation to support Britain's CPTPP accession, a vital post-Brexit bridge, according to Carney. Talks with Germany, Japan, and the EU, however, produced little headline-worthy progress. Carney's conversation with EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen focused on tariff concerns, WTO erosion, and China's grip on the critical minerals market. This spurred the creation of the Critical Minerals Production Alliance, designed to secure non-Chinese supply chains. Still, with no consensus on Ukraine aid, energy tariffs, or digital rules, trust issues persisted. As one Canadian insider quipped, We're not trading through communiques anymore, we're building certainty, one handshake at a time. Yet, as global markets watch economic shifts, another dimension of the summit came into sharper focus: security, both physical and digital. From boots to bytes, the new face of global security. While the US stalled collective action at the G7, Canada stepped up to lead on security. With Trump absent, Prime Minister Mark Carney helped coordinate G6 responses to global flashpoints. The Middle East dominated early discussions as Israel ramped up airstrikes and Iran retaliated with drones. France's Macron cautioned against Western regime change efforts in Iran. In Ukraine, Canada issued its own strong statement, adding new sanctions on Russia's defense sector and committing $2 billion in support. Ukrainian President Zelensky's visit proved fruitful, despite a cancelled meeting with Trump. Most notably, Canada and the UK launched the $7 million Common Good Cyber Fund to fight authoritarian surveillance. They also linked their air safety and AI security institutes to build sovereign AI defense capabilities. The summit marked a shift in global defense priorities, from conventional troop-based strategies to data-driven resilience and cyber readiness. Through bold moves in digital and diplomatic arenas, Canada positioned itself as a leader in the next generation of global security policy. As the G7's scope widened, so too did its guest list, ushering in voices from beyond the traditional circle of seven. Broadening the grid, diplomatic deals with India, Mexico, and more. While the G7 remains a cornerstone of global governance, this year's summit signaled a vital evolution. The future of influence lies in expanding the tent. As host, Canada welcomed key democratic voices from outside the traditional seven: India, Mexico, Brazil, South Korea, Australia, and South Africa, each playing a growing role in global supply chains and tech ecosystems. One of the summit's most pivotal moments came from a diplomatic reset with India. Nearly 2 years after ties soured over allegations of Indian involvement in the assassination of a Sikh separatist, Prime Minister Carney and Indian PM Narendra Modi agreed to restore full diplomatic relations. New high commissioners were announced and cooperation resumed on digital infrastructure, food security, and critical minerals. But the reset wasn't without caveats. Canada's CSIS issued a simultaneous warning, reaffirming concerns about Indian interference, highlighting that while diplomacy has resumed, trust remains closely monitored. Meanwhile, Trump's canceled meeting with Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum created a void. Still, Canada and U.S. officials continue quiet talks on the USMCA, border security, and regional cooperation, showing diplomacy thrives even when politics wavers. With all these developments in motion, the big question remains: what is the summit's lasting impact? Final lap: Canada redraws the G7 blueprint. The 2025 G7 summit didn't follow the usual script, and that's what made it unforgettable. Trump's early exit and refusal to support a joint Ukraine statement deepened long-standing cracks in G7 unity. His comments on Russia reopens old wounds, revealing just how fragile this alliance truly is. Yet while headlines focused on dysfunction, Prime Minister Carney quietly took the wheel. Rather than chase shaky consensus, he pursued strategic cooperation, striking AI security deals, restoring India-Canada diplomacy, and driving trade realignments. It was quiet leadership in action, turning disarray into momentum. That's the real legacy of Kananaskis. Progress is still possible, even in a divided world, if someone steps up to lead. So we want to hear from you. Is Canada's bilateral strategy the future of diplomacy? What did Trump's G7 departure signal about U.S. global leadership? How should automakers adapt to rising cyber and AI threats? Please leave a comment below to start a conversation. For more on how vehicles, politics, and global power plays intersect, subscribe to Highway Herald. Hit the bell for all the latest auto news, policy shifts, and summit coverage. Thanks for riding with us, and see you in the next video. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's more exciting and informative content waiting for you.